Satisfactory has massively overhauled their photo mode, and it's easily one of my favorite new features in update 1.1. There's a lot of new additions in this update. This tutorial will explain everything to do with the photo mode, so whether you're a brand new player or a Satisfactory veteran, this tutorial should help you out. Of course, I do need to preference this video by saying that 0 mods are being used in today's upload. Everything that you see me do today, you can do in update 1.1 right now in vanilla mode. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. First, I like to try and start with the basics. To access your camera, you have to press the P button on your keyboard, where you should then see this screen right here. To access everything that's new in updates 1.1, you can press the tab button just like that, and of course I will go over everything here. But first, I want to try and show something else. Let's say you don't necessarily like this sort of camera right here, where you've got that white circle in the middle and then the white borders around the outside, obviously to resemble an actual camera. Then all you have to do is press the T button, and that instantly hides everything. So now you can roam around in first-person mode, and there's absolutely no UI, but we've already got this in the game though. One thing that is new again when we open up that photo mode is this, the decoupled camera. So press the R button, just like that, and then suddenly we can now move around freely, and again just press T if you want to get rid of that camera sort of aesthetic right there, which is fantastic. And just like that, we can now fully free roam. I believe though there is actually a border right about here, where there we go, your camera can't go any further away. But it's still a pretty good distance though. Are they ever going to expand that? Maybe, I don't think so though. But regardless, this is still absolutely fantastic. And that's it really for the basics of the camera. But as you can probably guess, there's still a lot more to actually delve into when it comes to the new 1.1 camera settings. And for that, again, let's open the camera app, and this time we are going to press tab, just like so. And the very first thing that I want to try and mess around with is the camera mode, where again, you've got first person, which of course you can zoom, you can roll here as well, which is incredible, of course. In case you don't like anything that you do, by the way, you can always press these two orange crosses just like that, and that's of course for any setting that you want to try and mess around with. Something else that you can do here as well, in fact, is actually reset everything, which becomes a lot more important when you mess around with the image, which again we'll get onto in just a moment there as well. Just press the reset button, now everything is back to normal, which again is great. Going back to that camera mode, if we change this to decoupled, we actually get a brand new setting here called Pioneer. And I do want to mess around with this, and again, decoupled is essentially where you split the camera from the Pioneer, and this is where things get really interesting. Essentially, there are a bunch of different poses that you can currently have in the game. Some of them look great. I'm not really much of a pose guy myself, but in case you guys would like to use these poses, you now can. And of course, you've got this classic pose from Black Ops. Of course, it's not the Black Ops pose, but at least that's what I recognize it as. In total, there are 30 different poses that you can choose from, which is actually quite a lot. And let's say you want to try and exit this screen, what you could do is press P, which completely exits the photo mode. But maybe you don't want to have to press P again, then tab again, then decoupled again, then Pioneer again. All you have to do is press the tab button, and then that brings this setting back up again, so you don't have to exit the photo mode every single time. Again, all you've got to do is press tab, and then T if you want to try and get rid of that camera setting around the outside, which makes things really, really simple for us. And again, there are 30 poses, there's some really good ones in there. I'll let you go through all of them in your own time though. I'll leave a few of them as a surprise for yourself. Of course, you can also hide the Pioneer as well. So let's say you just don't want your Pioneer in the picture, well, that setting is rather obvious. There's also look into the camera as well, which I believe, when you rotate around, it's almost uncanny. When it works, at least. That is so weird. But you know what? I don't dislike it. Let's try. That's my first time trying this feature out. That is, I mean, you might want that. And in some instances, it can actually look really cool. But yeah, that is a bit uncanny for my liking. Let's reset the pose and the not looking to the camera. Thank you. Of course, we've also got rotation of the Pioneer. Again, bear in mind, you are on Pioneer settings, not camera settings. So when you see things like rotation, that is Pioneer rotation. When you see nudge, you can also nudge your character there as well, which might seem pointless, but yet again, I'm sure you will find a use for that. Regarding the decoupled mode, that's essentially everything to do with the Pioneer. You got the poses, the hide Pioneer, the look into the camera, and the positioning there as well. So there's quite a lot of settings with just the decoupled mode alone. Of course, again, you've also got the zoom setting. I just zoomed into my character's breast. Now let's talk a little bit about the focus mode, because there's 3 different settings. There's manual, there's tracking, and then there's autofocus here as well. And I believe that the tracking one personally is the best, because all you have to do is press set whilst looking at either an object or your character itself, and then there you go. As you can see by that white square right there, this is what we are tracking. All we then have to do is change this. Then you'll slowly start to see that everything becomes blurry except for what you are actually trying to track. And this setting is really, really cool. And again, you can do this for machines as well, I suppose, as well as characters. So yeah, this is a rather incredible setting, especially for thumbnails there as well. That's made my life at least 5% easier. Then when it comes to autofocus, essentially it depends how far or close you are to a character, and it will automatically focus on what you're trying to look at. So if you're looking here in the background, it will focus on the background. If you're looking in the foreground, it will focus on the foreground, or the character. So again, autofocus essentially does what it says on the tin. Then manual just essentially combines everything. I've changed quite a lot of stuff over here, so I want to fully reset everything. There we go. And of course, change the zoom there a little bit as well. Perfect. Now let's move on to the other category, which is very, very simple. It's literally just a grid and then a crop there as well. So you can choose to have a couple different crops here, which is quite nice. Actually, quite a few crops. That's fantastic. And a couple different grids here as well. So overall, that might make things a little bit easier for you. Although as far as what I'm aware, this grid was currently in Satisfactory before 1.1, but this crop feature is most certainly new. So far in this video, we've talked about quite a lot of stuff. We've talked mostly about camera, we've talked about Pioneer, but I haven't mentioned much about the actual image itself. And this is where things start to get very, very interesting, especially when it comes to the color filter and the effect filter. Of course, you can mess around with things like exposure, saturation, contrast, and tint, but I'm not particularly interested too much in any of that. Instead, first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the color filter. So you've got sepia, you've got vibrant, which is pretty much the exact same as what the game's already got, but things are far more saturated, which is fantastic for recording YouTube content, but it does hurt my eyes there a little bit. We've also, by the way, with vibrant, you could just turn down the saturation a little bit, and then things are essentially back to normal, but they still look a little bit better. You've also got things like sunset, which look absolutely stunning, and as we'll soon see later on, there are many stunning color and effect filters in 1.1. Overall, there are a ton of different color filters. However, this one in particular I want to talk about. The reason for that is the name of it, Somebody's Sky. This is obviously a resemblance of No Man's Sky, which I don't think is a game that's got anything to do with Satisfactory, or the team behind Satisfactory, so it's a very weird surprise how they managed to add that. Of course, from this point of view, nothing really looks too different in regard to the game itself. Of course, everything appears to be more red, but when you actually look at the grass itself, it definitely does start to give off more of a No Man's Sky sort of reference or vibe, which I think is really cool looking. I don't want to go through all the color filters because I want you to try and test everything out yourself. This is only a tutorial. I don't want to spoil the surprise for all of you, but there's a good amount of color filters. And of course, you could also change the color filter strength. 0 essentially means that it's like not even having the filter, whereas 1 is that the filter's on full strength. However, for now, I'm going to reset everything to normal settings, because it's time to talk a little bit now about the effect filter. And this is where you can get an absolute ton of rather incredible effects. Some of them look great, but rather confusing, whilst others are a little bit questionable. Now, I don't want to waste your time completely and go through every single one of these filters, but essentially, again, just like the color filters, there are an absolute ton of them. And again, some of them, like, look at this. Imagine your nuclear factory of all of your nuclear power generators. I mean, this just looks absolutely amazing. But there's something that I haven't actually seen a lot of people do, and I generally do not know why, so I'm definitely going to take a moment to mention that now. Of course, you've got your effect filters, but you could also overlap your color filters with your effect filters there as well. So don't be afraid to do this, test it. Some of them will look dreadful, just to warn you now. they will not work very well with one another, but honestly, sometimes they could end up looking amazing. So yeah, definitely do go through all these settings, because you'll probably find some sort of weird combination with both the color filters and the effect filters that you'll truly love. And of course, going back to the effect filters here, you can change everything with the bloom, the aberration there as well, the vigilante, which just means like the screen gets a bit dark around the outside, which looks great, and the grain there as well. So it's cool that you can completely change the way that your factory looks just by pressing a couple buttons, so that is absolutely remarkable. But let's say you've made a mistake. Oh dear, you really do not want this. You press the escape button. Okay, fantastic. Everything's back to normal. Then you try and access the picture mode again, and oh no, all of it's back to the way I didn't want it to be. But don't worry, literally just open up the tab button, press reset, and there you go, your life's back to normal. Don't worry, don't be too concerned. And yeah, do bear that in mind, by the way. Every single time that you open up the photo mode, it saves the settings that you were on by the time you closed it. Now, in my opinion, I've saved the best to last. This is something called dolly settings, and at first, I actually missed this, I don't know how. But all you have to do is enable the decoupled setting. This will not work in first person mode, as you can see it goes away, but with decoupled settings it now appears. Let me just demonstrate what this thing does. What I'm going to try and do right now is set a start point, which for argument's sake it's going to be right here. What I'm then going to do is now set an end point. I'm going to travel somewhere over in this direction, and we're going to be looking at the assemblers just like that. Set end points. Now all I'm going to do is press this button. And there you go. You've now got yourself a literal camera that's recording the video for you. It is absolutely fantastic. It does bounce around like a boomerang. But let's say, for example, you're not a very big fan of that. That's way too long. Well, what you could do is just reduce the time there as well. I've never heard that complaint of it being too long personally, but there we go. And now, just like that, it takes 1.8 seconds, and the boomerang effect still takes place, which again is great. But of course, if you want it to be a bit longer, you can go all the way up to 20 seconds. Press the T button to remove those settings. And just like that, after pressing just a few buttons, you've essentially created your very own cinematic shot. And you don't have to download any mods. Like I said at the very start of today's video, there are no mods at all in today's tutorial. So you can do all of this for free right now in Satisfactory. Again, update 1.1 is a free edition. It's not a DLC, it's just a free update. So this, in my opinion, is so cool. Now let's just mess around with something. I'm going to do a set start point there. We're then going to set our end point, for example, somewhere over here. Just like that. We're then going to go into our image. We're going to change the color filter. What should we go with? Let's go with sunset, because that could end up looking rather nice. And for effect filter, ooh, these look pretty good. I think we might even just go with none, because I think, or even, oh, look at that. This looks really cool. So let's just go with that then. Now, all you got to do is press this button, and then before you know it, of course, we'll try and change this here a little bit as well. Go back to the very start again. Press this, press T.
We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the sea.
When you're done with that, press reset, and you are back to where you started. That right there is the brand new photo mode. Don't forget to subscribe if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.